Oh, they've done it! Steven Gerrard, an instant hero! Can you believe it? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America. Blau und Weiß sein Leben lang. Wins or losses, we still support the club, but man, it gets harder and harder every week, doesn't it? Man, long weekend, not the ideal way to start the weekend. The game was on Friday. For those in the United States, it was on Veterans Day, or at least how we observed it during the week. And yeah, not the ideal way to start the weekend. A 3-day weekend for us here, at least in the States. And man, it left a sour taste in our mouth that would have to wait for 3 days until today. So it's 4 days later. Almost have to rewatch the game again, just want to remember what happened because it was so long ago, the game. But yeah, it's almost like self-punishment, I guess, for just being a Schalke fan, I guess, right? But man, what a way to play a game against the newly promoted Elversberg, losing 2-1 in that game. A game which kind of brought back our old habits of just no passion, no heart, no fight. Very few had it in that game, it appeared. And very odd because we were at home in this one. We were in Velton's Arena. So you would think that would be in our favor. Jack and I talked about this on the podcast last week, how, hey, maybe because they're newly promoted, they're going into a big arena like Velton's Arena, 60,000 plus. Maybe they'll be a little scared, and that'll be to our advantage. No, not one bit whatsoever. They did not look scared at all. We, on the other hand, some players played very scared. At least it appeared. I'm not going to say they were scared, but I said it appeared they were scared. But let's get into the lineups in this one because this is get it out of the way because it's we got to talk about it. So starting lineups for this one for Schalke. Obviously, well, I don't know. I can't say obviously, but I would say in warm-ups, Ralph Fährmann, which many of us assumed that Ralph Fährmann was going to start the game. He was expected to, but pulled a muscle in warm-ups, and he had to be pulled for Justin Heckerin. So Heckerin stepped in, and I remember talking about this on the Discord, and I said, you know what? In normal situations, we'd be like, oh my goodness, what's going on? We got a backup going in there, arguably third or fourth stringer. But we've seen Heckerin already. He's been okay. All of our goalies outside of Müller have been okay. Muller's been fantastic, but Fährmann's been okay. Heckerin's been okay. Langer's been okay, right? So I was like, okay, just another thing. You know, we're on a nice roll here. Let's just roll with it. It's fine. Back three of Kalash, Kaminsky, and Merkin. Pretty much what we saw the week prior. Midfield five of Oyan on the left side, Matriciani on the right side, Schallenberg, Tempelman, and Drexler in the middle, with Karaman and Lasme up top. And yeah, you look at the lineup, you're like thinking, okay, this is a pretty straight up lineup. No changes from the last one. Looking at newly promoted Elversberg, looking at the lineup, you're like, who's going to really be the guy who's going to scare me? Obviously, a guy like Schnellenbacher had, I think on Discord they said it was 14 goals last year, so he was the guy you're going to have to worry about it. Anthony Glukauf, misery for me for many reasons, not just Schalke this weekend. Good to see you joining in the misery tonight. But yeah, there was really one person, at least that I was where I wasn't going to come out here and lie and say, oh, I knew about Elversberg. And no, I didn't. I knew that they're promoted. I knew that they've been doing really well this year. Outside of that and Schnellbacher, I didn't know anything about them. Find out that this team is core with the manager and all. They've been together about 5 years now, so they know each other very well. What you're looking at, Christoph and goal, back four of Van der Merch, Siginger, Jakel, and Neubauer. Midfield five of Phil Hoyer, Sahin, Rochelle, Stock, and File, with Schnellbacher up top. And the one thing I wanted to see, especially being at home, is that I wanted to see, come off and start things off, because the one thing that's been, the many things, right? One of the things that's been so frustrating this season is getting off to that slow start. Whether it's goal in the first 10 minutes, goal in the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, we always get off on the back foot. It seems like we're sleeping, and we were hoping under this new manager things would change. Did they change? Well, it took us 7 minutes to figure that out, didn't it? Defense completely caught napping. I meant to show some pictures of illustrations of how bad our defense was in our first 20 minutes. But you saw how bad it was. Didn't go watch the highlights. It shows how bad it was. But we parted, as to use Klaus Fischer's terms, we parted like the Red Sea in defense there in the 7th minute, where quick pass into Stock in the middle, and you see Kaminsky, that's supposed to be his man, backing off. You see Kalash kind of backing away, but he's going after his guy. Matriciani and Oyan are far wide, so there's a huge gap in the middle. And as you should, Stock just takes it right up the gut there. And the one thing I wanted to see was someone press up on him. Templeman was trying to catch up to him from the backside. He was a little lackadaisical, in my opinion. I'm curious what you guys' thoughts about in the game with Templeman, but a little lackadaisical on the backside, and then Kaminsky's backing away. What I want to see is the center back is pushing in there, go after him. I did not see that at all. By the time Kaminsky decided to put his foot down and go after, it was too late. Stock was winding up, taking a shot, beat the keeper. Could it have been a better save? Maybe, but you got a defender who's not going at him, and then it gets in the way of the shot, so Häkkinen really can't see where the shot's going, and it goes in, boom, 1-0, just like that, 7 minutes in. Glukov Eric says, yeah, but still we made them famous, one of the biggest victories in their club's history. Yes, it was. I mean, they don't even have a train station. They don't. It's a town of 12,000 people, I think it is. That's how small they are. So that's why they don't have a train station. And no discredit to Elversberg. They deserve to win 100%. They've been playing really well this year. You should give them credit for, being newly promoted champions last year, and now they're what? I think they're 13th or 10th. Let's see what the standings here real quick. Take a quick peek. Just at Elversberg, 9th. They're 9th in the table with the 3 points. They're 9th. Nuremberg, look at them jumping back ahead of them. But I digress. Yeah, it was a tough way to start the game. 7 minutes in, Stock just had all the daylight in the world to go do whatever he wanted, and he did. He took. I mean, he at least ran 30 yards up the pitch with nobody on him before before Kaminsky even thought about it, or even he thought about shooting it. And by that time, it was too late, and he scored a goal already. So not the greatest way to start the game there. Elversberg with a lot of pressure early on in the game. It's almost like we were shell-shocked. We were almost underestimating them and surprised at how good they were from what I was watching in the game. The first 20 minutes, it was all Elversberg. I wish I had the first stats for the first 20, 30 minutes, because it was one-sided football, to say the least. And that's embarrassing when you're the home team, a team of Schalke's stature, being one of the biggest clubs in Germany. So you think it'd be getting better? No. After the goal, I think Elversberg kind of continued on what they were doing. Well, why not? Why break it if it's working? Started to have more shots and stuff like that, more opportunities. But then again, the 21st minute, the guy who scored the goal, Stock, again, free to roam up the pitch, do what he wants, gets up the pitch and finds his man. What was the guy's name? Yannick Rochelle, and he gets up, quick play, wonderful shot by him. Häkkinen probably was too far to the one side and probably could have had a chance to beat it. But, I mean, it hits off the post. I think it hits off both posts and goes in. I mean, it was a pin-perfect shot by Rochelle, and it goes in. I mean, Häkkinen, sure, he could have done it, but, I mean, you got to give kudos to the shot there. 2-0 and within 21 minutes, and you're like, are you kidding me? We're going to get played off the park against Elversberg, newly promoted Elversberg, and all of us in the Discord were freaking just pulling our hair out, freaking out. It was embarrassing, to say the least. That's an understatement. Coming out the first 20 minutes at home and getting shell shocked like we were. I mean, we're surprised. We're lucky it wasn't more, honestly. And at that rate, it could have been one of those Bayern scores that we saw in the Bundesliga a few years ago, right? Something what they put up against who they played recently, Darmstadt, about 8-0. It looked like it was going that way against lowly Elversberg. But surprisingly, we kind of, after that goal, it woke us up and we kind of started playing a lot better in the second half of the first half. Really kind of led by Keenan Karaman. Keenan Karaman, I thought, was by far the best player for the team. If you think there's anyone else, please let me know. I'm open to suggestions. There weren't many to choose from, but Keenan Carmen kind of really stepped up, and Thomas Oyan did well as well. And off a set piece, ball goes in. Carmen gets a header on it. I don't know how he was that free. Gets a header, goes into the corner. 35th minute, boom, 2-1. I'm like, I felt a lot better at that point. Okay, we woke up finally. Waited too long to get back into the game, but we got a goal in here before halftime. Let's see if we get another one. Had some chances, but goes into halftime 2-1, and I felt rather optimistic. I hated the first 20 minutes. Deplorable how he came out. Embarrassing how he came out in the first 20 minutes. But it's 2-1 at that point. You're like, okay, surely we're going to get at least one more goal, right? Maybe not 2 goals. We'll get at least another goal the way we were playing. Second half comes out. Well, first off, the first half, I thought Karaman was obviously very good. Oyan was very good. You can see the scores here by FootMob. Not necessarily indicative of how I felt. Lasma was rather quiet for me. Templeman was probably the only other guy I would say who was fairly active on the team. Drexler was quiet for me. Schallenberg was quiet. Matriciani was not having a great game, though he ventured up several times. Obviously, the defense had their issues with the 2 goals they allowed right away. But yeah, overall, first half is like, nah, right? But we came on strong at the end of the second half, and so there's hope going into the second half. And second half came and went, right? We had some opportunities. I thought, Karaman continued to play really well in the second half. He had the best chance of anybody in the second half by, either team. And the 60th minute gets another header off the ball. I think it was a set piece from Oyan once again, if I'm not mistaken. Gets a header, low corner, and the goalkeeper, Christoph, made a fantastic save, low corner with his palms it away. And we're like, okay, see, at that point, I still felt optimistic. I'm like, okay, look, we're getting closer and closer. Karaman nearly scored there. But that would really be the only thing of it. Some of the head scratching things too, if you look at some substitutions, right? So in the 58th minute, Drexler goes out for Latza. That made sense. I thought Drexler was rather poor in this game, rather quiet. Lasma makes sense, right? He goes out and Tarota comes in. You need more goals. I didn't understand the Templeman one necessarily. Bringing Top. I understand bringing Kiki Top. You need goals, but Templeman I thought was one of the better players. Honestly, you probably maybe bring in take Schallenberg out and put someone else in his place. I don't know. Blendi Idrisi would come on a little bit later for Henny Matriciani, 84th. And Kabadai would come in for Merkin. Really, we're just throwing shit at the wall at that point, trying to see if anything would stick. But it's all too little, too late. They had some chances too, some strong chances. But lose a game 2-1. That's about as close as we got, and the optimism is just slowly fading away. And you're like, "Oh gosh, we're not going to do this already." But by the time I think reality hit about the 80th minute, you're like, "Oh, we're not going to get there." We had 7 minutes of stoppage time, I think it was, and we still didn't do anything remotely close to what we did in the 60th minute, where Karaman's shot was saved, the header was saved by Christoph. So lose 2-1. Poor performance. It's funny because I listened to Klaus Fischer and Rudy Aschik, and they got this podcast, Legends podcast, Schalke podcast, where they talk. And I was trying to listen to their commentary, and they had I felt a lot of the same things they do. It's good to get their insight just because they both, they played the game. I felt that the back three was poor in this game. You saw it in that first 2 goals, but in particular the first goal where Kaminsky's backing off, Kalash is way off, Merkin and Oyan are way wide. Merkin and Matriciani, are way wide. Oyan too, and you had this gap in the middle. And we've talked about this on the podcast how, like, as bad as the defense plays, sometimes you need to have Schallenberg can't do it alone. He needs to have somebody there to sit there deep. I think we talked about this last podcast. So Jack and I said there needs to be a second guy back there with Schallenberg in the middle to kind of help clog that midfield. I joked around maybe she's got to be Oyan because he's nowhere else available, right? But you don't want Templeman to do it. He's that creative player that goes up front. It's almost by default has to be Drexler, unless you bring on Latza for him. We didn't have it, and Schallenberg wasn't there. And it's curious because I heard reading the comments from or watching the podcast, the Legends podcast, and some of the comments that they made. So they were very critical of the team, especially the back three. They thought the back three was obviously poor. Rudy had mentioned how, while a back three can be successful, and it had been the past 2 games, you make one mistake and it can break you. It can lead to a goal. We saw it every game that Gerards has been managing under. One mistake by a defender and it leads to a goal, and it's happened every game, and obviously happened to this game. And so you, as a back three, Rudy was saying, you have to be perfect. You cannot make mistakes, because when you do, they're goal scoring opportunities, and goals usually they go in. I definitely agree with that assessment. He was pretty harsh about Schallenberg and Drexler too. He said that neither guys would help out. Defensively they did what they could, but once we got the possession of the ball, Schallenberg just stood still next to his guy and didn't do anything. He just stood there, and that's a fair assessment, right? Schallenberg didn't get open to try to be open for a pass. Drexler didn't do much better. A little bit more movement through him. Both guys very static. That's the thing too, man. It's like the whole team outside of Karaman, we're very static on the possession. We kept talking about this on the Discord. Elfersberg, I mean, they were moving around the pitch, trying to find each other's open, trying to get into 1-1-2s, playing triangles. It looked like a team that's been together for 5 years, but they looked like they wanted the ball. They all wanted to try to get open. Schalke was like, nah, he was going to pass the ball around, and we're going to try to break through this defense. Didn't happen, though. Weren't good enough at all. But Rudy was saying how Drexler and Schallenberg were not effective at all offensively. Really, really poor. Klaus Fischer was criticizing the attackers, even Kahneman to an extent, but like all of them, even the guys that came off the bench, is like, how is an attacker, when the ball goes in the air, you're supposed to head the ball with your head, attack the ball. And every single one of them, the ball hits him at the top of the head. Like, where's the ball going to go when you hit it at the top of your head? One play, Laspa gets a great opportunity in the middle. I think Oyan swung it off a corner kick. And this was like shortly after the Karaman goal. I was thinking, oh, Laspa's the dude for next. The ball goes right to him. Hits him at the top of the head from like point blank range. He goes way over the goal. Like, so Fisher's like, how are you a striker and can't strike the ball with your forehead? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not how you play striker position. No one's going to do well from that. And it's like, yeah, that's a really good point there. What else did he say? He just kept going on and on about all the strikers, how they were not doing their part as strikers to kind of control the game, control the ball when it's in the air, and get it feed it to your teammates. One of the questions was asked by the host to the guys, do you think, spending money on players, or what's going to be a solution with this? And Rudy said, it's like, hey, you need to spend money on good players. We don't have really money per se to spend, but we need to buy money on good players. He says, this current team is not good enough. Majority of them are not good enough. And this team, if it gets dropped to the Dritte Liga, we're going to struggle in the Dritte Liga. It's a tough league down there. And with this current team, he doesn't feel confident that this team can do well in the Dritte Liga if we were to get relegated. I don't know if we're going to get relegated yet, but we are in the last relegation spot at the moment, so it's possible. It's possible. Eric says, still can't defend, still can't set traps, can't press, and cannot build anything, any combination. Yeah, 100%. And, to Rudy's point, if Schallenberg and Drexler helped out offensively, we could get those 1-2 passes, those triangles, those combination plays. We can't even feed the damn strikers the ball. Oyan we're over reliant on Oyan at this point. It's very similar, minus the position in the table, to that year we finished second in the Bundesliga with under Domenico Tedesco, where all we were doing is relying on set pieces. I mean, that's all we're doing right now, is relying on set pieces. Majority of our goals are through set pieces and Oyan and Moore and whoever else gets them, but it's set pieces. That's what we're over relying on. It's not good enough at all. Anthony says defensive mistakes costed both teams. Yeah, certainly costed Schalke in this one. And then Klaus kind of went into it also and asked about the same question. He goes, stop buying slow players. Stop buying slow players. He's like, if it was up to him, you buy fast players. Yeah, sure, they don't have the quality. You train them, 2-3 times a day. A day, and they're gonna eventually improve. They are just how it is. The more you practice, the better you're gonna get. And so you practice with these fast players. Eventually, they'll get in the right position. They already have the pace, and there you go. You got a decent player. But if you can't buy a slow player and expect them with the training that they're going to get faster, they're not going to get faster. Most of them have reached their max potential and growth in terms of speed, right? I know Gerards is huge on making sure that they do what they can with the players and improve upon them, right? But you can improve upon like the technical skills. I don't think you certainly pace and all that stuff. Maybe quickness a little bit because that's how fast you get off the line, but you really can't change pace, honestly. And so all Klaus is saying is that buy fast players, stop buying these slow players. And you look at some of the players we have, at least in attack, right? So let me pull up the players here. Karaman, he's not that slow. He's not that fast. I just say he's fairly slow. Lasma's fast, but is he maybe being played in the wrong position? We wanted to see him as second striker, but the best he's done this season is when he's been out the wing, right? When he play either whether it's a 4-3-3 or he's playing on the attacking winger side, he plays his best there because he can exploit his weakness or his strength there. What was it? The first goal against Heracles, get the ball down and was able to beat the defender 1-on-1 on the sideline and take it in. I think the first game against Hanover did the same thing, right? So he's maybe not getting he's relied to be too static and hold up the ball at his current position. It's just not working out. Maybe he needs to be where Matriciani's playing, right? We know Lasma can play midfielder, so maybe take out Matriciani, who's playing piss poor, put in Lasma back there, and maybe he can use some of his speed to come down the wings. I don't know, but you look at some of the other strikers we have, right? Simo Toronto, we don't. He ain't fleet of foot at all, but he can score goals. Kabadai is more of a winger. Top's got okay speed. Who else we got? Sebastian Polter. I mean, almost identical twin to Simo Toronto in terms of pace and skill set. So we don't really have the most fleet of foot guys. And even if you're looking at the midfield, honestly, I mean, you look at the midfield. And we're talking just midfielders, not wingers or like wing backs like Thomas William, but like Drexler, he's not that fast. Schallenberg certainly not fast at all. Templeman's not fast. Latza's not fast. Idrisi's not really fast. I mean, most of these guys don't have the pace, right? And so that's what Klaus is saying is that like, hey, don't buy slow players. Buy some fast players. We'll train them to get better. Just train them to get better. And Eric says that Mourinho style, light style in 2018. I'll take it right now. Yeah, I mean, at least we were in the Bundesliga and finished in second place that year, right? We had Naldo who get all those freaking great goals. And we're in the Bundesliga again. Now we're in the Zweite Liga. We just need anything. If we're gonna stay up because of set pieces, so be it, right? But we want to see more dimensions at the moment. I think right now he's don't want to get relegated again. But what are you gonna do, right? Anthony says, do you think possibly bringing up a player from the academy can turn a bad form into good? Obviously, like to Eric's point, Asan Drago, when he comes back, is gonna be a huge pickup, right? And Klaus Fischer kind of made this point on the podcast where he said, like, look, we obviously don't have money. So maybe it was Rudy. I think both the guys said it really, but they were like, look, we don't have any money. So why, instead of going to the friendlies against Eindhoven and Mechelaken, obviously PSV Eindhoven, we know from the Eredivisie, and Mechelaken's from like a second division Belgian league there. So instead of playing against these guys, play against U23s, right? Play against the U19s, or maybe not the U19s, but U23s, and bring us some U19 players and see what what does the senior team have. They should have the fire to the wherewithal to try to beat them, especially after lost them already one time this year, right? Kiki top with 2 goals or 3 goals in that game. But he said, look, if we don't have money, we should be investing in the youth academy. Look at the youth academy, see who we can bring up. Maybe just 1 or 2 players, right? Rudy made the point, man, you can also bring 1 or 2 bad players, and that's not going to help you, but you got to pick the right 2 players. We talked about in the last podcast how U17s have some really good young guys. Don't want to bring those guys necessarily up, right? Not everyone's going to be Asan Odrago. It's Sebastian and Simon. They're okay. They're going to be ones for the future. You got to look for more the U19s and U23s and see, who you can bring up to kind of help the team. And the point that they made, and I think I agree 100%, is that look, whoever you bring up, whether it's U23 or U19, anyone from the Knabenschmiede, you tell them, look, especially like a position like right wing, we're so weak in that, right? Basically, like, hey, you get on the pitch, you have to give us your all from minute 1 to minute 90. And if you want to stay on this team, get a chance, you gotta give it all out, 100%. We're not really seeing this from all the players. It just seems like this game, for whatever reason, in a game where we had the momentum 2 games in a row, looking to get 3 games in a row, it fell flat. It fell flat. again, outside of Kataman, I thought Laspa wasn't that great overall. Templeman was okay. Drexel was poor. Schallenberg was poor. Oweon was good. Decent, I should say. Matriciani, Kalash, Kaminsky, Merkin, Heckeren. They were all bad, I thought. So it was very frustrating to watch this game. I know all of us in the Discord were just like, again, it was just not fun to watch. You had the optimism. They gave us the optimism. They always do. You get the chance, especially that goal from Karaman, and then Karaman had some other opportunities. But man, it just wasn't happening. Even the guys came on, like Kabadai didn't provide much offensively. Blendy, Idrisi, those guys were almost non-existent once they came on. Granted, it was a little too late, but man, it was terrible. So that's the game there. Look at some other news. Let's look at least some how the juniors did, right? Anthony asked about how the Kanap and Schmieder were doing and stuff like that. The U23s, they drew 1-1 against Fortuna Düsseldorf on Friday as well. Goal by Ivan in the 45th minute, 1-1 there. Moving on to the U19s. Where's that score? There you go. It's our U17s first. They won 1-0 against Düsseldorf as well. Takoju got the goal there. And then in the U19s against Gladbach, 1-1 goal through Partel in the 27th minute, made a 1-1 at that point. So okay results for the youngsters this weekend, but not necessarily for the main team, which we need at the moment. Because looking at the current table, moving over here to my standings here, at that point we were probably like 14th or 15th after that result, because we did get we didn't get any point at that point, but we were 15th at that point. But after all the results happened from the weekend, we are in 16th place again after got two consecutive wins in a row. We thought we made some headway, and then sure enough, we're back down to 16th place in the last relegation spot. Got a little bit of cushion between us and Eintracht Braunschweig, but doesn't really matter at this point, right? We're in the relegation spot. We're tied on points with Karlsruhe and Magdeburg, right? Magdeburg, who started out so well, their bottoms dropped out. And the only team that's remained undefeated in the league is still St. Pauli. Hamburg drew this weekend. Holstein Kiel is still up there. Hanover's up there, still in fourth. Dusseldorf's up there, and Nuremberg as well. So yeah, it's just something's got to give. They got to figure this out quick. It's not fun to watch. Not fun to watch. And the fact that you can't watch most of these games on ESPN Plus like this one, you had to watch it on a legal stream. But it is what it is. At least it's the international break. We got a chance to recoup here. Like I said, there's a couple of friendlies coming up here against. I'll pull up the screen here so you can see who our test spiel is against. Let me change my screens here. All right, there we go. So on Wednesday, we got a game against PSV Eindhoven, and then on Thursday, the very next day, we got against Mechelen. So if you Patro Eisen Maasmechelen, excuse me, second division of the Belgian league. So if you're curious where they are currently, they are in 6th position. So they're okay in the second division. PSV Eindhoven this year, I don't know where they're at. They're obviously a bigger club, a well-known club. They're doing really well in the Eredivisie this year. So we'll see. Back-to-back games. You would imagine a lot of the U19s, U23s will be called up in this. It's going to be hard to judge those players. You imagine a lot of people are going to get a lot of minutes. I doubt. Well, I don't know, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some guys play both games and play a lot of minutes both games. But these kind of things you want to worry about possibility injury, right? We don't have many decent guys at the moment. Don't want to get injured, right? Ouedraogo picked up an injury just before the last game or 2 games ago, whatever it was. So we'll see how we do with these 2 friendlies here. Back-to-back days on Wednesday and Thursday next week. This week. What day is it? Yeah, it is this week. Man, it's just all flying by. That game felt so long ago. It was this Friday, right? But yeah, it's gonna be difficult to really assess the team, how we play there, especially the youngsters. But maybe Gerardt sees something that he was looking for. I don't know, but pace is something we're lacking. That the back three's got to work on just being the back three, communication, and really maybe just change to a back 5 at the moment, or put 2 double pivot there in the back, because I think Schallenberg can't do it alone. And then if he's going to continue hiding when we have the ball in possession, not helping out. We're playing like a man down at that point. And yeah, we had some opportunities, but we can't expect Karaman to lead us the whole way. It has to be a team effort. Templeman looked like he was trying in the game, but just couldn't get it for whatever reason. Last pass, he wanted to score some goals. Lasso, just some reason, was snake bit in that game, every game. So I don't know. But don't want to go on too long just because one, again, pissed off the game. I definitely wanted to share those comments by Klaus Fischer and Rudy Obstick. And yeah, kind of give a quick, brief review of what happened with the Kanapashvili this weekend. They had better results than we did, so we'll see. Next game, we have some difficult games coming up. Let me see a real quick look ahead in the schedule to see who we have. Let's see. Okay, so next game's coming up. Dusseldorf, who are second or third in the table. That comes up on Saturday, November 25th, and then Osnabrück, which is bottom of the table, December 1st, followed by Hansa Rostock and Greuther Fürth. So some winnable games before we get into some more difficult games. I mean, they're all freaking difficult at this point, right? But the Winterpause, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more games before the Winterpause. So don't expect new signings to come in. Let's go with what we got, and hopefully GERAERTS can figure this out. The team can figure it out because we need to see more passion. What we saw this last weekend was not good at all. Embarrassing. So anyway, hey, I'm gonna wrap it up right there. Make sure you can follow Jack Mangan over at JMMMANGAN. It's hard to say when it's not your name. You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. I can't even say my own name. But more importantly, follow Schalke America all across social media. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you haven't followed us yet on YouTube, subscribe, watch our videos, like them. That'd be much appreciated. And as always, join the Discord. Good group of guys. Join in the misery together as my dog wakes up from his nap. We'll be back. Probably not doing anything during the international break. Maybe we'll break some news bits if something crazy happens during the international break. But other than that, we'll catch you after the next match against Dusseldorf. And enjoy your holiday, your time away from Schalke outside of the 2 test spiels, and enjoy time with your family. So for Jack in Chicagoland, for myself, enjoy. We'll catch you soon. Glück auf.